The courtroom at Miami Federal Court fell into absolute silence when 5 framed photographs were placed on easels facing the jury. Thomas Morrison, 52, smiling with his arm around his wife, Jennifer Morrison, 49, laughing at a family dinner. Emma Morrison, 19, wearing her college graduation gown. Michael Morrison, 16, holding a soccer trophy. Daniel Morrison, 14, grinning proudly with his first fish. A family, past tense, all 5 were dead. Their bodies had been recovered from the Atlantic Ocean 12 miles off the Florida coast. They drowned when the luxury yacht they had purchased just 3 weeks earlier broke apart and sank in less than 4 minutes during what was supposed to be the vacation of a lifetime. Across the courtroom sat Christopher Vanderbilt, 43, luxury yacht broker and owner of Prestige Maritime Group. He wore a custom Brioni suit worth $9,200, Hermes loafers priced at $850, and a Richard Mille watch valued at $340,000. His face was perfectly tanned, his hair meticulously salon-styled, his nails immaculately manicured. Everything about him screamed wealth, privilege, and success. He glanced down at his phone, occasionally smirking at something on the screen, as if the 5 dead bodies represented by those photographs were nothing more than an inconvenience interrupting his schedule. Behind him sat 9 attorneys from Blackstone Legal Partners, specialists in defending high-net-worth individuals against wrongful death claims. Their lead counsel, Harrison Blackstone, billed $3,200 per hour and had built a reputation for making wealthy clients legally untouchable. But today, they were facing Judge Frank Caprio. Judge Caprio entered the courtroom and everyone rose. At 79 years old, with 37 years on the bench, he had presided over countless wrongful death cases. But the file before him, case number 2024 FD 3891, had kept him awake for 3 consecutive nights. 5 people. 3 children. All dead because of greed. This court is now in session, Caprio said quietly, his eyes moving from the photographs to Vanderbilt. Case number 2024 FD 3891, the United States versus Christopher Vanderbilt. Mr. Vanderbilt is charged with 5 counts of second-degree murder, fraud, falsification of maritime safety documents, and criminal negligence resulting in death. Harrison Blackstone stood immediately. Your Honor, my client Christopher Vanderbilt is one of the most successful yacht brokers in South Florida. His company, Prestige Maritime Group, generates $180 million annually. He has sold yachts to celebrities, executives, and international clients. He paused. This prosecution is a tragic overreach. The Morrison family's deaths were a devastating accident, but accidents happen on the ocean. Boating carries inherent risks. The Morrisons signed a comprehensive liability waiver acknowledging those risks. My client cannot be held criminally responsible for an act of God. Judge Caprio's jaw tightened. Mr. Blackstone, he said, 5 people are dead. The government alleges your client knowingly sold a defective vessel. That is not an act of God. The prosecution will make many allegations, Your Honor, Blackstone replied smoothly. We will prove them false. We'll see, Caprio said coldly. Ms. Rodriguez, present the government's case. Federal prosecutor Maria Rodriguez stood, her expression grave. Your Honor, on April 3 of this year, Dr. Thomas Morrison purchased a 45-foot Meridian yacht from Christopher Vanderbilt for $680,000. She gestured toward the photographs. Dr. Morrison was a successful dentist from Atlanta. He worked for 30 years, saved carefully, and finally had the means to buy his family their dream boat. He was excited. His wife Jennifer had always wanted to learn sailing. His daughter Emma was preparing to start medical school. His sons Michael and Daniel loved the ocean. This yacht represented decades of hard work and years of dreaming. Rodriguez held up documents. Dr. Morrison did his due diligence. He asked Mr. Vanderbilt directly whether the yacht had any structural issues, any history of problems, any safety concerns. Mr. Vanderbilt assured him the yacht was in excellent condition. He provided what appeared to be a recent professional marine survey stating the vessel was seaworthy and safe. Based on those assurances, Dr. Morrison completed the purchase. She paused. On May 18, the Morrison family set out on their maiden voyage. It was a calm, beautiful Saturday morning. They were 12 miles offshore when the hull catastrophically failed. The yacht broke apart and sank in under 4 minutes. All 5 family members drowned. The courtroom was silent except for muffled sobbing from the gallery, where extended family members clutched one another. The Coast Guard recovered their bodies over the next 3 days, Rodriguez continued. Dr. Morrison was found still holding his youngest son, Daniel. They drowned together, father clutching his child as the ocean claimed them both. She took a breath. Your Honor, Christopher Vanderbilt knew that yacht was dangerous. 6 months before selling it to Dr. Morrison, a previous buyer commissioned an independent marine survey conducted by certified surveyor Richard Chen. That report found extensive structural cracks throughout the hull. Rodriguez read aloud, this vessel has catastrophic structural defects. Multiple stress fractures present a high likelihood of total hull failure. This yacht is unsafe for ocean travel and should not be operated until repairs costing approximately $85,000 are completed. Mr. Vanderbilt received this report. He knew the yacht was a floating coffin. But $85,000 in repairs would have cut into his profit. So instead of fixing the yacht or disclosing the truth, he chose fraud. She raised another document. Mr. Vanderbilt paid $5,000 to a fraudulent document service to create a fake marine survey. A clean report. Dated 2 weeks before the sale. This forged document stated the yacht was in excellent condition with no structural issues. This is the report he showed Dr. Morrison. The courtroom gasped. Vanderbilt shifted in his chair, his jaw tightening, but his indifference quickly returned. He knowingly sold a defective yacht using falsified safety documents, Rodriguez said. He traded 5 human lives for $85,000 in repair costs. Judge Caprio leaned forward. Mr. Vanderbilt, he said, his voice like ice. Did you know about the structural defects before selling this yacht to the Morrison family? Vanderbilt stood, wearing a mask of practiced innocence. Your Honor, the yacht industry involves numerous inspections. I may have seen a report mentioning minor cosmetic concerns, but nothing suggesting serious danger. Caprio's voice sharpened. Mr. Chen's report warned of catastrophic failure. That is not cosmetic. Surveyors exaggerate, Vanderbilt replied. They protect themselves legally. I've been in this business 20 years. If I stopped selling every yacht with a concern, I'd never sell anything. Maria Rodriguez stood again. Your Honor, we have emails between Mr. Vanderbilt and the fraudulent document service. Caprio nodded grimly. Rodriguez read, I need a clean survey report for a Meridian 45-footer. Previous survey 2 negative. Buyer wants recent inspection showing no issues. We'll pay $5,000 for rush service. The response, we can provide a report showing excellent condition. Send details. Delivery in 48 hours, Vanderbilt replied, perfect. Make it look professional. Use listing photos. Date March 20th. Buyer is a doctor from out of state. Won't know the difference. The courtroom exploded. Cries of outrage filled the room. Members of the Morrison family stood screaming. Judge Caprio slammed his gavel. Order. When silence returned, Caprio looked directly at Vanderbilt, his disgust unmistakable. You wrote, buyer won't know the difference. Caprio said slowly, you didn't just sell a yacht, Mr. Vanderbilt. You sold a lie. And 5 people paid for it with their lives. Judge Caprio's hands trembled slightly as he gripped the bench. Mr. Vanderbilt, he said, his voice low but cutting through the courtroom like a whip, you specifically targeted Dr. Morrison because he was from out of state. He wouldn't verify your documents. That is your plan. That is your intent. Do you understand what context makes that acceptable? Vanderbilt's composure wavered, a faint shrug betraying the arrogance beneath his practiced veneer. Your Honor, the yacht business operates under caveat emptor. Buyer beware. Dr. Morrison could have commissioned an independent survey. He chose not to. That is not my responsibility. Judge Caprio's voice rose. You provided a fraudulent survey report. How was he supposed to know it was fake? Vanderbilt, blinking slowly, said, he should have verified it. Due diligence is the buyer's responsibility. From the gallery, Robert Morrison, Thomas's brother, lunged forward, screaming, you murdered them. You murdered my brother and his entire family. Bailiff sprang into action, restraining him as the courtroom descended into chaos. Judge Caprio slammed his gavel repeatedly. Order. Everyone sit down, now. His voice echoed like gunshots through the hushed room. When silence finally returned, he leaned forward, eyes blazing. Mr. Vanderbilt, he said, his hands shaking, 5 people trusted you. You gave them a fake safety report and sent them to their deaths. And now you claim it is their fault for trusting you? You claim an act of God, a liability waiver, and their responsibility absolves you? No. You knowingly sold a defective yacht, a death trap. You killed them. Maria Rodriguez stepped forward, her voice shaking with barely contained fury. Your Honor, there is more. We have confirmed Mr. Vanderbilt's location on May 18th, the day the Morrison family drowned. She displayed images on the courtroom screen. At 11:47 a.m. Eastern Time, roughly the moment the Morrison yacht began to break apart, Christopher Vanderbilt was in Cannes, France, attending the Cannes Film Festival. He posed on the deck of a 200-foot megayacht owned by a Russian oligarch, holding a champagne flute, surrounded by models in bikinis. The caption read, living the dream at Cannes. Champagne, sunshine, and beautiful people. This is what success looks like. Yacht life. Cannes Film Festival. Luxury broker. The courtroom fell silent. The contrast was obscene. Vanderbilt celebrating while 5 people he had sent to their deaths were drowning 12 miles offshore. At 2:33 p.m., roughly when the Coast Guard recovered the first body, Vanderbilt posted again, an image of himself laughing with 3 women, caviar, and champagne on the table. Caption, another successful year, $680,000 sale closed last month. Commission well spent. Work hard, play harder. At 6:15 p.m., while Dr. Morrison's body was being identified at the morgue, Vanderbilt posted yet again, this time in a tuxedo at a film premiere. Caption, Cannes nightlife is unmatched. When you're at the top of your game, every day is a celebration. Your Honor, Rodriguez said, her voice shaking with anger. While the Morrison family was dying because of his fraud, Christopher Vanderbilt was posting champagne photos and bragging about his commission from their deaths. The courtroom gasped, tears streaming down the faces of the Morrison family members. Rodriguez continued. We also obtained his private text messages. On May 19, one day after the drowning, Mr. Vanderbilt received a text, heard about the yacht that sank off Florida. That wasn't one of yours, was it? He replied, yeah, that was the Meridian I sold in April. Whole family died apparently. Terrible tragedy, but I had them sign all the waivers. My lawyer says I'm covered. Insurance will pay out the estate. Won't affect my business. His associate wrote, Jesus, Chris, 5 people died. Vanderbilt replied, I know it sucks, but that's why we have liability waivers. Ocean is dangerous. Not my fault they didn't know how to handle the boat. The courtroom erupted in shouts and cries. Robert Morrison broke free from the bailiffs and had to be restrained by 3 officers. Judge Caprio slammed his gavel again, bellowing, this court is adjourned for 15 minutes. Everyone calm down, or I will clear the gallery. When court resumed, Caprio's face was a mask of barely controlled rage. Mr. Vanderbilt, he said, voice trembling with fury, you texted that 5 deaths were terrible, but you were covered by waivers. You showed no remorse, no grief, no responsibility. Your first thought was your own legal exposure, not horror, not sorrow, not empathy. You were drinking champagne in Cannes while 5 human beings died because of your greed. Rodriguez nodded and turned to the witness stand. Your Honor, we have testimony from Richard Chen, the certified marine surveyor who conducted the original inspection. Chen, a man in his 60s, rose slowly from the gallery. Your Honor, I'm Richard Chen. I've been a certified marine surveyor for 34 years. In October of last year, I inspected the Meridian yacht at the request of a potential buyer. What I found was one of the most dangerous vessels I've ever surveyed. The hull had multiple stress fractures radiating from the keel. These weren't minor cracks, they compromised the integrity of the entire vessel. I told the buyer this yacht should not be in the water until extensive repairs were completed. I estimated a minimum of $85,000. He paused, voice grave. I sent my report to the yacht's owner and to Prestige Maritime Group. I specifically called Mr. Vanderbilt's office and spoke with him directly. I told him the yacht was unsafe and should not be sold without disclosure. Caprio leaned forward. And what did Mr. Vanderbilt say? Chen's voice was steady. He told me I was being overly cautious. Minor hull cracks are normal, he said. They do not affect seaworthiness. He said if he disclosed every minor issue, he would never sell anything. I warned him, these were catastrophic cracks. He thanked me for my concern and hung up. 3 months later, Chen continued, the yacht was listed for sale on Vanderbilt's website. The listing claimed it had been recently surveyed and was in excellent condition. I called again. I asked to see the second opinion he claimed supported the listing. He told me it was confidential client information. That second opinion was the fraudulent report purchased for $5,000. Judge Caprio's hands shook as he gripped the bench. Mr. Vanderbilt, he said, his voice cold and low, a certified marine surveyor with 34 years of experience told you this yacht would catastrophically fail. You ignored him. You sold it anyway. You falsified documents. And 5 people died exactly as he predicted. Vanderbilt, finally cracking, stammered, Your Honor, I run a business. I cannot be responsible for every surveyor's opinion. Chen is overcautious. He finds problems with everything. I got a second opinion, it said the yacht was fine. How was I supposed to know it was wrong? Caprio's glare could have burned through steel. You knew. You lied. They died. That is murder. Judge Caprio's hands shook slightly as he lowered the gavel. Christopher Vanderbilt, he said, his voice cold and resolute, you knew the yacht was a death trap. You paid to falsify documents, sent a trusting family to their deaths, and then celebrated your commission in Cannes while 5 people drowned. Your wealth, your Instagram posts, your liability waivers, they do not protect you from justice. The courtroom was silent except for quiet sobs. Robert Morrison clutched his head in grief, tears streaming down his face. Extended family members held one another, some wiping away tears while others stared at the floor in stunned silence. You have spent decades turning greed into a profession, Caprio continued. Selling defective yachts, concealing deadly defects, falsifying documents, hiding behind settlements and NDAs. But when murder is your profit, no law can be ignored. Your actions were deliberate, your indifference obscene, and your lack of remorse staggering. He paused, letting the weight of his words settle over everyone in the courtroom. Today, you have been held accountable. 40 years in federal prison. Your personal assets seized and liquidated to compensate the Morrison family. Prestige Maritime Group dissolved. Your yacht broker license permanently revoked. And the Federal Maritime Commission will audit every yacht sale you've made in the last decade. Every buyer will be notified. Every yacht re-inspected. Any attempt to conceal further defects will result in additional criminal charges. Caprio's gaze swept over the gallery. Thomas Morrison worked for 30 years to save enough money for a yacht. Jennifer Morrison nurtured and inspired her family. Emma was about to start medical school. Michael had just made his varsity soccer team. Daniel had his whole life ahead of him. They trusted a professional, and you betrayed that trust, sending them to their deaths. Their lives were priceless. You put a dollar amount on them, and they died. That is murder. He leaned forward, voice rising. You were drinking champagne in Cannes. You posted about your success while they were dying. That is the measure of your heart. But the law sees what you did. The victims may be gone, but justice has found them. The courtroom is the great equalizer. 5 lives mattered more than your profit. And today, justice has prevailed. The gallery erupted in applause. Family members cried and hugged each other. Even some of the prosecution team wept quietly, overwhelmed by the emotional gravity. Christopher Vanderbilt sat motionless, his empire destroyed, his freedom gone for 40 years. Judge Caprio stood, voice steady but firm. Compassion isn't an exception to justice. It is the purpose. Compassion for victims requires accountability for those who murder them for profit. Mr. Vanderbilt chose money over human life. 40 years is the price of that choice. Let this be a warning to those who think wealth and power can shield them from responsibility. Outside the courtroom, the story of the Morrison family spread like wildfire. The case led to the Morrison Family Maritime Safety Act, federal legislation mandating independent verification of all marine surveys, criminal penalties for falsified safety documents, and full disclosure of all known defects in yacht sales. The law passed unanimously. Thomas, Jennifer, Emma, Michael, and Daniel Morrison were gone, but their legacy lived on. Families and mariners across the country would be safer because their lives had mattered enough to demand accountability. And in the courtroom that day, Judge Frank Caprio reminded the world, sometimes, justice wins. Sometimes, the powerful lose. Sometimes, a family murdered for profit ensures that greed is never greater than human life.